The Ashdown Papers. The Secret Massacre, Britain blamed on Hitler. And the Descendant who exposed it, Part 1. The Outcast. Chapter 1. The Ashdown Heir. Wartime, 1940. The night smelled of damp brick and boiled tea, of coal smoke pushed through the throat of the shelter by each concussion. Harry Ashdown held the lantern low so the boy could see the painted animals on the wooden top. A lion, a tiger, a bear, a tiny menagerie circling under a thin ring of light. The boy's cough came in stitches, each one pulling at Harry's own chest as if tethered by wire. Again, Harry said softly, winding the toy, letting it clatter thinly on the shelter floor. He's roaring at the bombs. Old trick. Keeps them away. Parvati Rao, her shawl flecked with plaster dust, watched him with an expression somewhere between pity and suspicion. She'd learned in a year of rationing and raids that promises from gentlemen arrived with conditions. This one had mud on his cuffs and listened more than he spoke. That made him dangerous. It meant he might actually do something. Sajid Khan crouched by the boy, smoothing hair from his fever-shiny brow. "Please, Sahab," he said, voice a low plea he could not stand in himself. "The doctor." "I'll bring him," Harry said. He stood, feeling the shelter's packed bodies sway with him. "He won't like it. He will come." He climbed the stairs into the night. The siren's falling wail clung to the rooftops, and searchlights combed the sky like slow knives. A constable, helmet brim glistening with drizzle, raised a hand as Harry slipped past the queue at the shelter's mouth. "Back in, sir," the constable said. "No heroics." "No heroes here," Harry said, and jogged into Market Street's blackout. His shoes struck familiar potholes. He counted them, the way a boy counts heartbeats between lightning and thunder. Once his father had told him these streets were not his business. The country house had gardens, London had gardens. After Eton, after Sandhurst, both half completed before the war preempted the argument, Harry learned to love short streets that felt like rooms. A greengrocer's warmth extending 2 flagstones into the cold. A bakery's breath fogging the window, even under ration. This was where the war had a face. Dr. Arthur Merriweather kept his surgery above a chemist. The knocker was brass, shaped like a fox's head. Harry rapped 3 times and then, because friendship allowed, twice more. A second-floor light came on. The door opened 1 chain's length. "Harold," Arthur said, using the name that meant, "Don't ask me for anything tonight. There's a child burning up below the viaduct. He needs penicillin. Penicillin is for the wardens and the wounded." Arthur's mouth made a line of duty across his face. "The ministry audits us, Harry. Bring your bag. I cannot be every man's savior. You can be this boy's doctor." The chain slid free. Arthur stood with his tie loosened and a glass on his desk half filled with the only whiskey left in South London. He looked beyond Harry, into the blackout, as if the night might offer an excuse. "You'll get me struck off," he said. "You'll keep a child alive," Harry said. They walked. Arthur's shoes made a respectable sound. Harry's soles were soft, built for slipping down alleys and into rooms where stories pooled. In the shelter, Sajid watched Arthur's arrival with a relief that twisted into shame, as if hope were an imposition. Arthur touched the boy's wrist, listened to his chest, glanced at Parvati, as if she might translate the rhythm of the cough. He prepared an injection. When it was done, when the boy's breathing had gone from frantic to fretful, Arthur packed the syringe away and gave Harry a look that said the favor had consumed its lifetime. "I'll schedule a follow-up," Arthur said. "No record, you understand." "Nothing about this has a record," Harry said. Parvati held his gaze. "And still the papers will find a way to right it wrong." Harry nodded. "Then we'll write it ourselves." She almost smiled at that, a sharpened little thing that made a promise. "If you are serious, I am waiting." Above them, a flight of engines dragged a gray ceiling over the town. People in the shelter looked up, as if the concrete could go transparent by wishing. Harry stood with them a moment longer, counting again. The boy slept. Present-day Hal Ashdown found the nail by accident, which is how all his best stories had begun, by tripping. He'd been running a fingertip along the woodwork of the study his family pretended no longer existed. the room sealed first by grief and then by convenience. His finger caught a headless tack. When he tugged, the paneling gave a sigh that sounded like an apology. "Don't break the house," Eliza said from the doorway, arms folded. "It's already breaking," Hal said. "It just needed someone to admit it." He slid a butter knife under the seam, brutal the way prying always is, and lifted. Behind the panel, insulation discolored to the color of weak tea, a film of dust, and nested between the studs like an organ carefully tucked behind ribs, a tin box the size of a book. No lock. No flourish. English secrecy prefers understatement. Eliza stepped closer. "What if it's nothing?" "If it's nothing, I'll put it back," Hal said, and heard in his own tone the gambler at the moment before the card turns. His career had felt like that for years. One more card, one more deadline, one more apology to a disbelieving editor. He lifted the box free. It left an outline behind, a clean rectangle in a world of grime, as if the house had kept a flat, silent breath for 80 years. He set the box on the desk where their grandfather had written letters in a hand so precise it compelled good manners from bad news. The hinges protested. Inside lay a ledger bound in cracked brown, a stack of onion skin paper wrapped in string, a charred photograph, and a single envelope. Eliza touched the charred edge with a fingertip. "What is that?" Hal held the photo up to the light. Smoke blurred the image, but he could make out faces turned upward, placards bright as teeth. A march. The High Street. He knew the curve of that road the way one knows a scar on a body not one's own. He untied the string around the onion skin. The top sheet carried a title in a hand that leaned forward like a runner at the start. Flight roster, non-enemy action, Market Street, 14th of November 1940. Beneath it, a list of call signs and notations that meant nothing to him yet, and that meant everything. "Harry's," Eliza said. Not a question. Hal nodded. He slid a thumb under the envelope's flap. It opened like a mouth long closed. The letter inside was dated January 4th, 1941. The handwriting slanted right, bold and careful. "Mr. Ashdown, there's a thing that will not let me sleep. I was told to think of it as a training intercept. We were to take a low pass. We were to be seen. We were not to be known. But I knew as soon as I saw the bodies running. I knew as soon as I heard Pierce laugh. The enemy we fired upon did not cross the channel to meet us. We crossed a different line to meet them. I put this in your hands because I was told you speak for those with no one to speak. I should have been down there with them. I should have been down there too. F. Sergeant Gideon Cole." Hal read it twice, then a third time. The line "I should have been down there too" peeling away from the rest like a voice separated from static. He felt something old in him move, a distrust of himself answering a call he did not deserve. He reached for his phone with unsteady fingers. "Who?" Eliza said. "Maya," he said. "If I'm going to blow my life up, I'm going to do it with someone who knows where the safe exits are." Wartime, 1940. The hall behind St. Michael's smelled of polish and cabbage soup. 100 chairs made a grid of patience. Parvati stood at the front with a stack of pamphlets that had consumed her week and half her hope. Harry watched faces arrive and fill the room. Dockers with the River Thames in their hands. Seamstresses with needles tucked in shawls. Children climbing into laps, into nervous sleep. The sirens had been sporadic that day, the way mercy sometimes still visits. Vicar Ellery nodded to Harry, the unspoken contract passing between them. Shelter first, sermon second, politics last. Harry cleared his throat, aware that his voice could undo or knit. "This isn't a challenge," he said. "It's a request. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for the same protection you provide to every other street. Shelter doors open, wardens who answer calls, ration lists posted without names quietly moved to the bottom." He let the words sit. People are suspicious of speed in a crisis. Slow, careful, plain words make a kind of safety. Parvati lifted a pamphlet. "We march Saturday. Legal route. Permit granted." She tapped the paper where the ink bled a little at the edges. "We say we are here. We belong. We are loyal. Protect us too." A hand went up at the back. A woman with flour on her sleeves, hair tucked in a scarf. "What if they say it's dangerous to gather?" Harry answered gently. "Everything is dangerous. Breathing is dangerous on certain streets. This way they must see us. And if they see us and do nothing, then we will know what kind of country we are." Later, as the chairs thudded back into stacks, Sir Lionel Harbury arrived with a smile that showed many teeth and no warmth. He shook the vicar's hand with a little pump, then turned it into a handshake for the room. "Mr. Ashdown," he said, voice equal parts pat and patrician. "Good to see the county's best blood engaged in charity." "Not charity," Harry said. "Citizenship." Sir Lionel's smile did not change, which was the skill set. "A march, is it? Let's not make a meal of things. The nation is at war, and citizens are being ignored," Harry said. "We find our appetite." Sir Lionel glanced at the permit in Parvati's hand. "All in order, I see. The Home Office encourages community spirit. Just be sure it doesn't spill into disorder. We mustn't give Jerry any reason to think we're not quite together on the home front." "We're together," Parvati said. "We simply ask to be counted among the we." Sir Lionel's gaze flicked over her as if she were a pamphlet he'd already decided not to read. "Quite," he left. The door sighed shut. The vicar looked at Harry, and Harry felt the first real fear. Not that they would be stopped, but that they would be allowed to proceed. Present day, Maya Keene's voice was sandpaper in sleep when she answered. "This had better be a corpse or a scoop." "Both, maybe," Hal said, and told her. Not all of it. He'd learned not to pour the whole bottle at once, but enough to hear the click as she sat up, the rustle as she pulled a notebook closer, the small sound of a person deciding to risk herself again. "Send me photographs," she said. "Do not send originals. Do not post. Do not breathe near them until I've told you how. And Hal, this isn't just a career move." He knew what she meant. There were stories you wrote to climb back onto the ladder, and there were stories that pulled the ladder down and dared you to find a different way up. "I know," he said. "Good," she said. "Because if this is what it looks like, we are not walking, we are running, and we are not stopping, and we are not looking behind us until we're in a room with lawyers." He laughed, a short, astonished sound. "You make journalism sound romantic." "It isn't," she said. "It's dangerous. Romance is for after." He hung up and took photographs like she'd asked, hands gloved, light oblique, no flash. He photographed the ledger's first page, then stopped, because the entry at the top had been written in his great-granduncle's hand, and he felt intrusive reading a man's prayer. Artifact A, Ledger of H. Ashdown, 12 November 1940 excerpt, P. holds the permit. Vicar agrees to open doors. Dr. M. has promised to treat the boy. Sir L. smiles with too many teeth. Overhead engines. Always engines. Hal closed the book. He looked at the envelope again, at Gideon Cole's line, "I should have been down there too." The sentence was a wound and a vow. He felt how it might bind him to a path. "Harry," he said into the quiet room, as if the man who had hidden this box might be within earshot across time. "What did you think this would cost the person who found it?" Wartime, 1940. On Saturday morning, the sky was the color of an old bandage. Market Street had a feeling in it that Harry recognized from parades and funerals. People stood taller than they felt. Parvati's pamphlets made a white river down the curb. Saj tied an armband around his sleeve with hands that shook until his daughter's fingers steadied them. Harry looked up at the church clock, then down the road where the first line would step off toward the council offices. Vicar Ellery blessed the air with a motion that felt like a verdict deferred. The sirens were silent. Then, distant but growing engines. Not the heavy pendulum note of German bombers. Faster. Closer. A sound like fate deciding to be early. Harry lifted his head. Over the rooftops, three shapes came low, swallowed the street's horizon, and the light changed as if a door had opened in the sky. He had time to think only this: if they see us, they will stop. The engines grew louder. The air shook. And the first placard, held by a child on his father's shoulders, rattled as if it were afraid. The sky roared, and the paper signs lifting like birds that could not find the sun. Chapter 2. The Shelter Boy, Wartime, 1940. The shelter breathed like an animal in pain. Long, damp exhalations through the vents, short, scared inhalations when a shell landed near the river. Harry Ashdown moved with his shoulder to the wall, lantern tucked against his chest. The light made a ribbon ahead of him, not enough to see faces at once, only fragments. A woman's knuckles white around a shopping bag, a boy's shoes tied with string, the seam in a man's cap where the felt had been mended with thread too bright for propriety. He found the boy where Parvati had said, 3 blankets in, near the pillar with the painted number 7. Children sleep differently underground, they pretend not to. This one, Farah Sajid Khan, had gone far past pretending. His forehead burned with a heat that felt like an accusation. His lips were cracked, and his breath was a funny skipping thing, like a gramophone needle that kept hitting the same scratch. Saj crouched at his son's side, a big man made smaller in the way all fathers become when there is nothing to lift or carry except fear. Parvati knelt opposite, murmuring to the boy in a language that sounded to Harry like a prayer and to Saj like history. "He was right as rain last week," Saj said, eyes fixed on his boy's face as if keeping watch could undo a fever. "Then the cough. Then the heat. The clinic says come back Monday. Monday is a war away." Harry let the lantern sit on the stone and took the boy's wrist with careful fingers, counting with a soldier's quiet. The pulse galloped. He remembered a winter's hunt at Ashdown Hall, a stag running itself to standstill, steaming in the cold before collapsing without a shot fired. He had hated the way the men laughed then. He hated remembering it now. "He needs a doctor," Harry said. "We need a country that remembers we live in it," Parvati said, and slipped her hand from the boy's cheek to the back of Harry's wrist. "Can your friend be that country for one night?" Arthur Merriweather arrived as if the street itself had delivered him, collar up, doctor's bag tucked hard against his ribs. His hair was damp from drizzle. His eyes were the precise blue of someone who has decided to behave correctly until proven otherwise. He knelt, opened the bag, and let the shelter's air fill with the clean smell of spirit and rubber. The change in scent made people lift their heads as if hope had a fragrance they recognized from a kinder world. "Name?" Arthur asked. "Farah," Saj said. "Farah Sajid Khan." Arthur listened. He listened as if the boy's lungs were a message encoded by an enemy. He watched the rise and fall, the pull at the ribs, the way Farah's eyes did not quite close all the way when he slipped under. He held a stethoscope where it could do the least harm to dignity. Then he reached into his bag. "This is penicillin," Arthur said quietly. "You didn't hear me say it." He didn't receive it. He will receive it again in 2 days if he needs it, and if the world permits. He swabbed, injected, pressed a cotton wool square to the boy's arm. The shelter's noises receded for a moment, not because the bombs had stopped, but because the people had decided to stop hearing them. Harry watched Parvati watch Arthur, the calculation in her gaze easing into gratitude that she would not speak aloud. She did not want to owe anyone a debt that could be called in later in the currency of silence. Arthur packed the syringe away with movements so neat they felt like penance. "Keep him warm," he said. "Water, small sips. If his breathing worsens, find me. If you cannot find me, find Vicar Ellery, he'll ring the right bell." Saj swallowed. "Thank you, Doctor." Arthur gave a small, awkward nod, then looked at Harry with a professional's anger trimmed to fit good manners. "Do not make a habit of my heroism." Harry's smile was quick and contained. "I'm collecting habits you'll disapprove of." "You always have," Arthur said, and then, because he was not only a physician but a Londoner who possessed the practical theology of the Blitz, he put his palm on Farah's hair and held it there a moment longer than necessary, as if measuring the fever by touch and promising something beyond medicine. Parvati's voice was softer now. "He is the first reason," she said. "Not the only one." "The march," Harry said. She nodded. "We will not carry him in it. We are not fools. But his cough is in our throats." A warden strode past, helmet tilted, eyes skimming the crowd in that way officials practice when they don't want to see. He paused at Harry, recognized him, a face from the society page out of place underground, and then moved on. Harry felt the recognition like a bruise. Privilege did strange things in the dark. It made people both safer and suspect. He stopped at the end of the row and looked back. The lantern ghosted Farah's cheekbones with pale light. The boy's lashes trembled and settled. The shelter's wall thrummed, dust shook loose in little puffs, and the chalk number 7 looked more like a mark someone had tried to erase. What does a sick child reveal about forgotten lives? Harry asked himself. That epidemics are not always of illness. That some people are left out of the arithmetic when governments count who belongs. That the first triage of war is not at the hospital, but in the heart. He climbed the stairs and pushed into the night. Present day. The email from the county records office was 3 sentences and a death. The Ellery papers never arrived after the rectory fire of February 1941. Parish accounts were reconstructed from memory. Sermons presumed lost. The clerk had attached a scan of a single surviving page, a list of blankets distributed, broth ladled, names crossed out. Hal stared at the row with one word, Farah. No surname. No date. A child identified as inventory. He forwarded the scan to Maya with a single line. The country kept count of blankets better than boys. Her reply came fast. Find the boy, or the man he became. If he lived, he is our anchor.